Hello, welcome to the Chessboxing podcast. This week we've got Dan Hall. Say hello, Dan.
Hey guys, hey everyone.
And we've got Andrew Smith.
Hello.
Hi guys, welcome to the podcast. First time on the podcast, first time you guys are going to be fighting. 28th of May, our next event. Are you excited, Andrew?
Yeah, I don't know really. It's slightly nervous on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's going to be a very interesting experience. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it in that sense.
Have you got the fear?
Not really the fear. I think I guess it's just the unknown. I think that's probably because I don't know what will happen on the day, you know, what will be played and what will happen really. So
yeah. Well, having the fear sounds like a bad thing, but it's not really. It just means that you assume your opponent's training harder than you, and it really like sort of pushes you forward. So as most people get close to the event, they get more and more of the fear, and they train harder and harder. So perhaps the fear will come to you at some point. But you know your opponent very well, don't you? Of course.
Yeah. So I know James for a long time. So we've played each other in chess. Probably played thousands of games against each other. So it's I can't imagine he'll have anything that will surprise me over the board. But I think what will be more interesting will be the boxing, because we are both total beginners in doing it. So I'm quite excited to see what happens in that.
You better be careful what you say, because if James has listened to this, he's definitely going to try and spring a surprise on you, isn't he?
He's going to play his rubbish, like knight H3 or something, the ammonia attack or something along those lines. Or
yeah. So you also you run a YouTube channel, don't you? I think that's linked to your ring name. What's your ring name?
Yeah, so it's the Pawn Slayer, which I hear has already been taken.
Well, I need a retraction, a correction on that, because actually I got that wrong. It's actually the Pawn Star.
Oh, thank God for that. Oh,
so I think you're okay.
I was so worried that the Pawn Slayer, because I've had this username for so long, because it came from a friend. I remember playing against a friend back in like 2008, and like hilariously he sacrificed a bishop into my pawn, and then he just shouted like, "They call me the Pawn Slayer," and ever since that I was like, "Oh, that's a great name." And then I've used it for my chess.com username now for nearly over 10 years. So it's I thought if it was gone, I'd have been so upset.
If you're out there listening, you want a game of chess, just go to chess.com and challenge the Pawn Slayer.
Yeah, exactly. You can come. I'll take on anyone. I'll take on anyone.
And just before we get off the topic of your opponent, how well do you know James? You've known him for what, 12 years? James was telling me.
Yeah. So we've known each other for uni. So let's have a think. So yeah, I think maybe 9 years, maybe. So I think James has already alluded to in the last podcast. We were opponents in varsity. So I went to Bangor University in North Wales, and the varsity opponent was Aberystwyth, which is where he went to. And we organised, it was funny, it was the first ever chess match between those two universities. And we just so happened to play against each other in that, which I lost, which is interesting. And then I moved down back to Hertfordshire maybe 5 years ago. And I was chatting to some of the club members there going, "Oh, I've just moved back from Wales." And it was just by pure coincidence, they sort of went, "Oh, well, we know another person from Wales called James." And it just so happened he was at the same club as me. So I had absolutely no idea. So, and that's how we've kind of kept doing stuff with each other.
You've got beef then. You've got history. There's a lot of
history.
Beef. Yeah.
I'm not sure beef, but you know, maybe chicken.
Well, that's not what James said. So Dan, how would you describe your opponent as a friend?
So yeah, if I am actually fighting, it's Matt I'm fighting. Right?
Matt Reed, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, he's like such a nice guy. I've definitely got the fear, and obviously like he's done like loads of fights. So he's such a nice guy. He kind of made me feel really welcome in the club. Like talked to him probably the most in the club out of everyone. So definitely got the fear, but yeah, I wouldn't say Yeah, I'm definitely fighting a friend, but at the same time, I'm definitely going to put everything I can into it.
There's plenty of time to be friends after that final bell goes, isn't there?
Yeah, of course.
So you're fighting Matt. Now, Matt is very experienced, but don't listen to his stats that he tells you, because he will tell you he's done about 50% more fights than he's actually done. So just be aware of that. But he is very experienced, and also you've both got incredibly long arms, which I think will be interesting to see how that plays out. Have you had any thoughts about your ring name? Because obviously Matt's ring name is Crazy Arms after his very long arms. So I didn't know if you had any ideas about how you might sort of cast your ring name.
I don't know. I think it needs to be like catchy. I think like Matt Crazy Arms Reed, like it's quite a catchy one as all of them go.
I don't know if it is catchy. I just think it's so pervasive in chess boxing. It's been around so long. It's almost an institution in itself, isn't it?
Exactly.
Mr Tickle. Mr Tickle. That's what you could
out. Yeah.
Maybe like it's got to have like a like rhyme to it. I'm thinking like maybe down the wall hall or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I like that. You're a very tall guy, but broad.
Yeah, if you got any ideas, but yeah, I'm gonna have like couple of mates like give me some ideas, and also like with like my entry music, I think that's got to like hit the right note, if you know what I mean. It's got like,
what kind of music do you like?
I've got terrible music taste. So I'm literally thinking,
just like Matt then.
no, it's probably worse than that. I'm literally thinking like Bieber or something like that, like Justin Bieber.
Well, that is bad, yeah.
Baby. As you come in.
I was thinking like literally like either go like really, really like classic, like Red Hot Chili Peppers or something like that, which is a bit boring, I think. Or I'm thinking Bieber, like Never Say Never, because it's got.
I don't know the song, but I'm guessing it's awful.
I'll send you it. It should be. I don't know. I might get a few boos though. That's the only problem.
I think you've got to consider your persona a little bit as well, because obviously Matt is kind of crazy arms. He's kind of doesn't take himself very seriously. He always has like a stupid theme tune like Baywatch, or I don't know, the Transformers theme tune or something. So you've got to decide, are you going to be like sort of a nice guy, or are you going to be like a heel? Are you going to be like a Dan Mayfield, a bit threatening? That's not you, is it, Dan?
No, not at all. I think for me, it's got, because it's chess boxing, like whenever I mention it to any of my mates, they're like, what on earth is that? Like, you can't take yourself too seriously. So I think something where there's a bit of like, jokiness in there, like, put in Bieber or something. Again, my mates, I think they would laugh at that. So should be good.
And you've got a few mates coming. I understand you've sold some tickets for us already.
Yeah. I'm trying to get like, if I can get like 20 friends or something, but like whenever I mention it, whether or not they actually turn up, we'll see. But like whenever I mention like I do chess boxing, like, oh yeah. Oh, you're on a podcast. Oh, cool. Okay. Oh, you're gonna go fight. Oh, I'll come and watch. So
well, as long as they buy tickets, if they don't turn up, I mean, that's less of a problem. But as long as they buy the tickets, that's the main thing.
Yeah, that's what really matters.
And you can tell them. So generally, we encourage people to sort of dress up as well. It's like fancy dress. And we have like, obviously with COVID, we couldn't do this, but we have like desks out with chessboards and signs with pens. So you can make your own signs, so they can come and make signs to support you and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like, it's a bit like the darts, that kind of atmosphere.
Oh, that's cool. I actually, a couple of years ago, I went to like a chess boxing event. So do you know the actual?
Can't all come as a chessboard or something.
Yeah.
I think that so the main advertisement is actually a picture of my brother when so like when he's got his like mouth open, that's actually my brother, and we actually went
right. In Scala.
Yeah, he's in Scala. Yeah.
Oh right, that's years ago. Then you're talking like 5-6 years ago, more maybe.
I think it's like 2017 or something. But it's the one where he's literally got his like mouth like wide open, just like kind of like I'm actually like sat opposite him, so like, I'm not quite in the picture, but that's how I got into it, just because I had a mate who came along, and they were like, oh yeah, you should come to chess boxing, like you like chess, you like boxing, and then literally finally got the courage to actually have a fight.
So how did you who did you see fight that night? Can you remember?
I think
it probably was Matt. I mean, he's pretty much in every show, isn't he?
I'm pretty sure it was Matt. It might have been, because I think there was one time where he turned up, but he was kind of like, he wasn't actually meant to be fighting, and then just basically, I think someone pulled out, and then he ended up fighting.
Oh, Oh yeah, I think I know the night, because what happened was Matt had told this girl that he was fighting, who was coming to watch him fight, and I don't know if it's the night, but this is a good story, so I'll tell it to you anyway. So basically, what happened was then Matt turns up with this woman, and he's like, Tim Woolgar, who was organising the events at the time, was like, no, Matt, you're not on the bill. And so Matt's like, what can I've invited this girl, I'm trying to impress her, and you're telling me I'm not going to fight. What's she going to think? So he managed to convince Tim to basically put on some raps and fight him. And I probably shouldn't tell you this, but this is kind of like behind the curtain stuff. But basically, Tim took a dive, but he kind of went down to make Matt look really good in front of this girl.
So good.
And that was the night that Tim got his nickname, because he was a bit out of shape and he wasn't expecting to fight. And so he was a little bit self-conscious of his weight. So when he came onto the stage, he decided to like take the mickey out of himself and sort of break the ice a little bit. And he's like, tonight I'm going to fight as the hippo. And then nobody in the audience laughed at all. And then he had to go on and fight Matt and lose to Matt.
Oh, so good.
So it probably wasn't the best night of Tim's life, but very entertaining. Yeah. And those nights in Scala it's a bit like the Dome, really. It was basically a nightclub, like a really gritty nightclub with sticky floors, and yeah, it's a really good venue for that kind of stuff. There's all the different levels, like almost like audience, like almost like hanging over the stage, a bit like the Thunderdome or something like that. It's a really cool place. So Andrew, we did speak just before we start the podcast that you're a teacher, is that right?
Yeah, so I'm actually training to become a teacher at the minute. So this is my training year right now. So hopefully, fingers crossed, in 10 weeks time, or roughly 10 weeks time, I would graduate, and then I would then start teaching at my own school. And so I'm looking forward to it.
So you're training, but you have it, presumably you're teaching in schools as well as part of your training. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so it's what's called a teacher training skit. So for 4 days a week, I would be in schools actually doing teaching kids, and then 1 day a week I'm at university, kind of learning about how to teach and all the things to think about in teaching. So yeah.
And Dan, are you a teacher, or have I got that wrong? Matt mentioned that you might be a teacher.
Yeah. So I'm actually like leaving teaching. So I've been a teacher for the last 10 years. You
don't look old enough to be teaching 10 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like I'm actually 32. I've been teaching for 10 years. Like absolutely love it, but I'm actually going the way of a lot of chess boxers becoming an accountant. So literally going completely the other way. But teaching is like an amazing profession. I'm literally like really gutted to have left it. But I just want to try something new and see kind of like, if there's something else I really enjoy. But we'll see. I'll let you know in about 6 months if I enjoy it or not. Well,
you're in good company. We've got quite a few accountants. But I have to say, I've got so much respect for teachers. I didn't realise until I haven't done a lot of it, but I have done some of it, and I've taught maybe 4 hour lessons in a day, and I didn't appreciate how exhausting it is to stand up and talk to people and engage with them. And it's usually quite a few people, like 20 plus kids presumably. By the end of the day, I was exhausted, and then presumably you got to go home and do marking and all that stuff. I think it's incredible what you guys do as teachers.
It's obviously it's like quite rewarding as well, but and like you build up the stamina for it. Like after like a half term or like a holiday, you literally like first few days you're back, you're just like dying, like literally how on earth am I doing it? But you build up the stamina, and it just becomes like second nature. And like, I think, after you've done your first year, Andrew, like it just gets easier every year. So, and obviously like I said, it's like a really rewarding career. So, I'm sure you'll love it.
And Andrew, what are you teaching exactly?
So it's actually primary education. So I work with a year 5 class. But it's so funny you mentioned that.
That's so much fun.
Yeah, oh, I love it. I love it. And but it's so funny you mentioned that, Gavin, around being exhausted after teaching, because sometimes I'm like that. At the end of the day, I'm just like, oh my god, what? And then I've got like to do marking and do other bits and planning. But one of the things I find interesting is when I'm done lots of lessons, if I forget my water bottle for the day, you just don't realize how much just talking, and then I'm just so dehydrated by the end of the day. So I always make sure that I've got my water bottle with me. That's my only bit of advice for anyone who wants to do teaching.
Keep hydrated.
Make sure you got
and if you're chess boxing for that matter, it's good advice generally, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Andrew, have you been to any of our events? Have you seen anyone in action?
It's very interesting, because I heard about chess boxing maybe over 10 years ago, and it must have been some of your first events, because I remember there was a boxer, and I don't know why it's stuck in my head, but he was called the Wardrobe.
Yeah. Hubert Van Melick.
So, yeah, and I just remember that that sounds cool. I want to know about the Wardrobe. But just at the time, I was in my A levels, so I wasn't able to go to any of the fights. But I think it was maybe, you're looking at 5 years ago, I went to my first fight, because funnily enough, that Matt Reed was also at the same chess club that I was at. Okay. And
he knows everybody in chess, Matt.
Everyone in chess, but Nick Cornish as well. He's at the same club.
Yeah. The showstopper.
And the showstopper, exactly. And there was a new member who joined at the same time at the club, and his name was Cameron Little. It was his. So I actually saw his first ever chess boxing fight, which was it was a crazy fight, because his opponent was just like throwing all these uppercuts and haymakers, and he was like trying to defend.
I think that would have been against Toby White. That was a great bout. Yeah,
it's a brilliant fight, and I watched him and went, wow, that was a really, really good event. And then I didn't really see any more chess boxing until like maybe about 3 years later, where I saw, actually, it was funny enough, it was Cameron actually, I think, fighting for the heavyweight against Toby Sloby.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think, and that was just a crazy game, because Cameron was just dominating him in the chess, and then suddenly out of nowhere, he just like blundered away all his material. Yeah. And then it was suddenly a draw on the chess, and we're like, oh my God, it's going to have to be decided for and the boxing was, they were both toe for toe in the boxing. So I think he just edged it out on the judge's decision. So it was,
Toby is one of the most exciting chess boxers we've had. I think he's only had one victory, which was against, so Toby's a Liberal Democrat, and he fought against this guy, Jonathan Arnott, who's a sitting UKIP MEP at the time. He was actually sitting in the European Parliament when he fought Toby. And he knocked him out in the first round of boxing.
Wow.
But Toby's been a real servant to the sport, and Andrew will testify that every time he gets in the ring, it's so explosive. I think he fought against Carl Ouch last time, and Carl's a very, very good chess player. He was always pretty explosive on the board. But yeah, Toby just, I don't know, he's just an absolute machine. And as soon as he gets the impression, because he's very, very fit, and as soon as he gets the impression his opponent is starting to flag a little, he'll just unload. And he's known for like a flurrying at the end of a round. So it's a tactic you guys might want to consider, which is you conserve a bit of energy, and then 30 seconds before the end of the round, your corner man will tell you, right, 30 seconds, and you go at your opponent to try and discombobulate them. So when they sit down and play chess, they can't think straight, and that's what Toby White often does, which is probably why Cameron blundered all his material, because he'll be sitting down after being pounded by Toby. It's not easy to sit down and play chess, as you can imagine. But I think particularly with Matt Reed, because Matt Reed's very good at managing boxing. Dan, he's done it a lot, and he's very good at managing his. He's got a very good natural fitness, like base level fitness, but he doesn't train, as you know.
That's like lazy arms, isn't it? That's why.
Lazy arms. So if you can sort of allow him to manage the boxing, maybe the first sort of 2 minutes, and then the last minute you sort of have a go at him, I think you could unsettle him because what's your elo? Because I think you're slightly better on the board, aren't you, than Matt generally?
So right now, I think my ECF, or I think it's like 2100 ish. Obviously, like on chess.com, like for Blitz, it's much higher, but like obviously, yeah. I play like a little bit. I play in like the Middlesex League.
Okay.
And I played 4 in the Scala a few weeks ago. I lost, but yeah, just trying to kind of get back into like over the board chess, which is like, yeah, it's good fun. But yeah, like I played Matt a few times at Islington Boxing, and like he's pretty good. He's a good player, so I think it'll still be a very, very close game. And you never know, like a one-off like blitz game.
Honestly, don't underestimate him in the chess, because he always claims he's like 1800, but he's not. He's better than that, and also he handles the pressure so well in the chess boxing ring. So you've got to be aware of them. What about you, Andrew? What's your elo?
I think my ECF, I think, is about 1760, 1780 or something. So, but yeah, it's funny though you're playing, Matt, because I think all you need to do for prep is just look up the orangutan and
Polish,
or the grob. Those are like his two go-to openings. So
yeah, I don't know. He may not play against you because he does that against inexperienced players, because he knows that they will go, what the hell is this, and then they'll waste the first 20 seconds of their clock. But he may do. It's definitely worth researching.
I've never seen him not play because he used to play for my league team, so like I've never seen him not play the orangutan or
really?
the grob.
Okay.
So
maybe it's good advice then.
Is that B4? Is that B4 or G4?
B4, yeah. So he just does that every game. I think he plays the grob as black. Actually, I'm not too sure, or some sort of reverse B5 or.
Yeah, I'll look up some like obscure openings, just make sure I know the theory on it. But yeah, it should be interesting.
There's so much data out there now, isn't there? I'm sure you can nail that one. So guys, before we go, it's a question I ask to most people, and sometimes I forget, and then people complain that I haven't asked this question. So what I'd like to know, Andrew, is what is your favorite chocolate bar?
What's my favorite chocolate bar?
Yeah.
It's funny, I had a chocolate bar today. It was a Kit Kat. That was quite nice. But I think my favorite
dark chocolate Kit Kat, or was it just
regular? No. It was actually a white chocolate Kit Kat today, which was pretty good. It was a bit controversial.
How many fingers?
It was a chunky one. It was a chunky.
Oh, right.
So it was
one finger, then one
just one big finger. Like a thumb, basically.
Okay.
But I think that's a really tough question, actually. Gosh, I think Yorkies, because I could talk all day about chocolate bars. But
you want me to come back to you after I ask Dan?
Yeah, come back to me. I'll have a think about it.
What's your favourite chocolate bar, Dan?
Is Kinder Bueno a chocolate bar? Or?
I'd say it was, yeah, definitely.
Kinder Bueno.
Yeah, Bueno, just because, there's something about them. And like having like the toy at the end as well, just like making the toy is always good fun. So probably Kinder Bueno.
Fair enough. And Andrew, have you made a decision?
I think Kinder Bueno is a bit of a show stealer.
You can't have the same chocolate bar.
No, I can't. I mean, I'll go for I think a Yorkie. I've always enjoyed a Yorkie. Like I just like the solidness of the chocolate. It's quite nice.
Yeah, so. I guess it's marketed, isn't it? It's sort of like kind of manly sort of light, isn't it?
I've noticed they've removed all of that now. I think it's too controversial. Yeah,
I suppose. Yeah, you don't want to identify people's gender and all that stuff, I suppose. So guys, that's all left for me to do is really just say thank you for coming on the podcast and thank you for fighting. I'm really looking forward to you guys getting in the ring. I think you're very well matched, and I'm looking forward to see those crazy arms flying in both directions this time down. And I think you and James are well matched, and it'll be interesting to see how things play out and how your chess respectively is affected by the boxing, because you're obviously very well matched on the chess. So I think the boxing will be crucial for you guys to see who's going to come out on top there. And of course, you can buy your tickets at chessboxingnation.com for the event. It's on the 28th of May, which is coming up in just under 2 months. You can also watch our stream, which is Chessboxing Nation, which is on Twitch and also on YouTube. So if you can't make the event, go over and have a look at the stream there. So yeah, thanks very much, guys, for coming on the podcast, and I'll see you at training on Saturday.
Cheers.
See you soon. Cheers.